Rivers, upon hearing the comparison and seeing people say that they feel like Nas would actually win the matchup, he went in the comment section of, I believe it was a podcast who were talking about it. I'm sorry, I don't see it in this graphic. I would credit the podcast, but I didn't see it. I just seen this graphic floating around online. It says, "This ish is pure comedy. Y'all have zero idea for real. I wouldn't be used to the physicality. LOL, bro. Y'all really be gassed off YouTube hoopers. Where his resume? The F has he done to warrant y'all's respect? I did it at every level." And um, Austin Rivers, he's replying to people because people are saying, look, if you're going to say what they can and can't do and talk about the YouTube hoopers, get out there and play them and end all doubt. Show that his levels, like you say. He said, I'm not playing a YouTube hooper, Ella. Well, and I don't want to hear the Ty Lawson BS. Man's been retired for near a decade and has faced all types of injuries and setbacks, physically, emotionally. He's like 1/4 the player he was. I'm still very much me. Y'all tripping with this BS. Y'all give dudes with no resume this undeserved clout and respect like they've done something in our actual game. No All Americans, no state titles, no McDonald's game, no All Americans, no high division offers or numbers or awards, no draft, no resume, effing none. But they hoop on effing Instagram and YouTube, and y'all eat that ish up. So people are saying you bringing your resume, you bringing your name, not your game, and people are arguing against Austin Rivers on the Proving Grounds Instagram account. They responded. They said, I think for me personally, Austin, if you talking about Nas' skill level in a degrading way and talking about the level difference between YouTubers versus NBA players and 1v1 scene, you got to be ready to check up. And Steven Jackson goes in that comment section. He says, Austin is good to y'all, not NBA players. His daddy gave him his big contract. I got Nas. Austin's scared. And man, that had a lot of people talking. Gully Prince responds in the comment section. He says Austin Rivers doesn't have to play him. That's just the reality of it all. This is just Matt Ish talking to get him to play. When in realness, it's no point. It's more for Nas to gain than him. And Steven Jackson just responded again and said Austin's scared. So let's look at what Nasir Kaur said, because that is what this conversation is centered around. This is on the Proven Grounds Instagram.
Sam, are you cheating on me with another pet store? No. It's just, they have auto ship. Smart has auto ship too. And same day delivery. You're like the full package. Smart deals, low prices. Smart, anything for pets. It's not all spice. It's all it's DJ? Hey, bro. Y'all let Austin Rivers gas y'all today that it's his levels. Show me his levels and make me shut up. Other than that, I don't want to hear that shit, bro. I ain't even coming here to rap too much, cause now Nas is gonna go live tonight and end this once for all, and you can see right there on his channel, 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. He says, check up or shut up. And he's going to be responding to Austin Rivers one last time. And I wonder, is Austin going to respond? I know the competitive drive in any hooper is going to make them respond to something like this. When somebody calls you out, says what they can do to you 1v1, you still feel like you got it, you're going to say certain things. I remember seeing Mike Beasley calling out Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo saying there's no way he would lose a 1v1 game. And a lot of people believe, Melo, if you just look at his game, what he can do in one or two dribbles, how you have to respect his mid-range jump shot in a 1v1 situation, how physical he is. People are like, man, that'd be a good one, him and Mike Beasley. But they look at Melo as someone who, if he's in shape, he's going to dominate. But the same thing applied. They said, Melo, if you say you can beat Beasley like that, come on and play. Only problem with that is, when you made hundreds of millions of dollars playing, what do you really have to gain proving you can beat somebody 1v1, right? They have a lot to gain. You don't really have nothing to gain from it. And that's the whole thing with it, right? Austin Rivers, he's talking about he could dominate Nas, basically, and there is levels and McDonald's All Americans and all that. Now, I will say this, that don't mean anything. You got people like Dame Lillard. Dame Lillard, two-star recruit, never played in the McDonald's All American game. Not comparing this guy to Dame Lillard, but when you start naming those accolades and reeling those off, we have a lot of players who have achieved some great things that don't have some of the accolades that Austin Rivers picked up early in his life. Going to Duke, being a one and done. There's guys who went in the second round, that ended up having better careers than some guys who were picked high because of the prestige of the school and being able to play on a national level each and every game, right? So again, man, you have to keep it about the game. And 1v1, I really respect what those guys have built. You have certain players who can do things under a whistle in a certain way. You have guys who probably are playing their best basketball in their mid-20s too. That's another thing. You might have somebody who's way better at 17 than another player, but through their travels, through their development later in their life, maybe what they have experienced overseas or certain work clicking and really starting to show in their game, you might get a player who, at 24, 25 years of age, 26, they're playing their best basketball. They didn't have nowhere near the talent when they were younger. And, or you got guys who probably couldn't do it under a whistle the same way in 5v5 at that same level as some of the other players. But 1v1, you just give them a ball. They got to guard the person in front of them. The person in front of them got to check them. Now we're having a different conversation because there's a lot of people who can perform um, against some of the best in these situations, right? There's more talent that didn't make it uh, out there, you know. And when they say make it, you know, made it to the NBA, that did, right? So uh, there's people that can hoop. You know, you just put people in front of them, and it ain't overwhelming talent where somebody is like Kevin Durant size and does what he does. You know, obviously that would be a tall task for any every one player, somebody like that. Or if you have a 6'1", 6'2" player, if they play like Kyrie Irving, okay, that's going to be a tall task for anybody because of the skills, him having ambidextrous skill set, you know, just everything he do with his brain, he do with his left hand, his agility, athleticism, ability to shoot the basketball, his ability to defend somebody in that scenario, right? That, if you look at that and be like, okay, you know, that's going to be next to impossible for somebody to get 30 before he gets 30 on them. And then you talk about the world class conditioner. But um, in this situation, Austin is seen playing a lot of pickup on his Instagram, you know, still active as far as hooping and pickup. And I said a lot of people got nuns, a lot of people got him. Um, it's interesting, you know, because you know what I think, and this is what I truly think. I think if the pots get closer to NBA level, then you might see more guys like Austin Rivers. If it was a scenario where we could play somebody for a few $1 million, okay, you know, it might be like that. The purses, you know, if you're gonna be bringing NBA players into it, the purses are gonna have to. I ain't gonna say match boxing, but it's gonna have to make sense for them. Because if I play somebody for 50 grand or 100 grand, see, I've set my worth in that space already. You know, I think is what it is. It's not going to be worth their while. I think people's issue is the talking and saying that it'll go a certain way, but in all reality, somebody's going to have to put up the money. The money's going to have to go up. Yeah, you had Lance and Beasley play, but most players that we would want to see do it, it's not going to do it. The money has to make sense. It's got to be a bigger pot. You probably gonna have to come with 7 figures promoted like a boxing. And we say Joe Johnson speak to that, right? Well, Mike Beasley called out Joe Johnson. He said it's got to make sense. You know, I have this resume, and he wasn't doing like Austin Rivers. He was talking about his resume. Resume in the NBA, the All Star games. He doing this, that, and the third. Yeah, you do the big three, but he talks about how you got to promote it like a fight and all that. So I just think the numbers got to make sense for NBA players. Ty Lawson obviously was far removed when he played, had injuries, had lost weight, got back in shape and all that, but he had to go through a lot. One, the first one, and then got dominated. The second one by Nas, and so people looking at it like Austin Rivers. But you know, I would love to see it. I just know the numbers got to make business sense.
But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time.
I always used to say, like, yeah, never understood, and if you so no files given up. It's nonstop. But I love what I did. But wearing all hats, it can be exhausting. Fíjate, mira. ¿Cuánto? Get downhill and get to the rim so easy that they take it as he can't hit a shot. He can hit a shot, though. He just gets to the rim so easy. Why would that? Y'all can't stop him. He should have pressured him more. I feel like. We feel like that. I feel like he should have pressured him more. He kept giving it downhill. His first two was downhill. You can't win no game like that. It's the two hardest things to guard in basketball. You like the two hardest things to guard in basketball is closeouts and when dudes running at you in transition. They're the hardest things to guard because you got a full head of steam. When you're backing up on Zay, you're allowing him more room to run right to your chest and slam into it. You know what you're gonna do right up and go up into the floater. And the thing about I always tell like think about this. If you try to run up to the rim and grab it, it'll be a lot easier to grab the rim when nobody is pushing versus when they bumping you off that line. So it's hard for LP to gather to even block the shot, which he's very good at is blocking jumpers and blocking floaters. And seeing it happen. But this is the difference. You can't take no breaks one-on-one. And we actually been speeding the game. I don't know if y'all really been noticing, but as soon as the ball goes to the net, they kind of give it to her. And they been giving it right back to the player. You know, so it's just a lot that went into that game strategy wise, but I think it's this. LP can't. So I keep everything basketball. What we can't do is listen to these comments, bro. Yeah. I think that this is basketball. We talking about basketball. Everything is fair within the confines of basketball as long as we get back. 100%. What I think is that LP got to stay locked in for 4 or 5 months. He can't lock it because a guy like Zay don't lock. He don't become detached from the grind. Yeah. I thought we was doing the series in LA and Nas, School, Bruce, and Zay, they all came to the gym and they had a game the next day. We worked out for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah. They don't. Hey, listen, this is what they do. But when you get in, and hey, this is all online. Hey, you guys saw it before Hitman, an LP play. What was on LP story? Thinking, y'all remember? I can't remember. I'm thinking, it was eating nachos. It was eating nachos before. Yeah, that's what it was. Eating nachos. And so I'm not gonna make it seem like Zay sitting there eating perfectly or anything like that. I don't know, but I just know that that's not contributing to where you want to be in this space, and that's the best. Yeah. That's the best. When I talk to Nas, and I try to compare LP to Nas, when I talked to Nas, he was like, "Man, finally." I was like, "What?" He's like, "I could go eat whatever the hell I want," and because he ain't been doing it preparing for nothing. Preparing for school. So that's as soon as you gotta take it. So as soon as you gotta take it, I feel like LP. Feel like I knew LP when I seen him say he been working out by himself and all that. I feel like he need to get with somebody like you or anybody like he needs a trainer. Somebody because what you think is working to get you in shape, it ain't enough. So you need somebody to push that extra mile. So he probably need to get with you or somebody just to work out and show him what it takes for the thing on one space because it's different than 5-5. Like 5 ain't the same. They're the same. So I don't think it's so much status. I don't think it's so much status. You just gotta look in the mirror and just figure out like, are you happy or satisfied with what you looking at right now? And then if you're not, then something about it. That's just the way I look at it. Like, go do something about it. If you're gonna stay in that gym or gonna be in that gym, stay in that gym. And when it comes to a trainer, y'all know, like I train and I can comfortably say this. You don't need me. You don't need you. You know, something like that discipline. You're right. You're right, but that's their fault. And so one thing I talked to KD about, he was just like, I didn't really have that coming up. And KD was telling me that, one thing I'm really good at is watching my own film and then fixing it. And so when you gotta look in the mirror, like if I do that with my commentator, I've done it, and I was like, man, I don't really like how this is sound. Yeah. So like, let me fix up on this. Let me shore up because I don't want to sound unfair. And so, when it comes to basketball, it got to be the same thing, or else what are we talking about? That's a fact. So LP can't get that Nas, that Nas matchup. Well, what did he gotta do to get the Nas matchup now? I hate that it always feels like we coming down on LP, but that just shows how good of a player and how talented of a player, how much money he watch. Let's be real. But I don't think he has a case. I want to see it. I'm still pushing for it. Because it really should be up to the players. I think it's more about what the culture needs. And I think the culture would love to see Nas versus Lamar. And you know what I honestly feel like? I feel like he guards Nas better than I've seen most people do when he's fresh. I've seen it in person. So, but it really comes down to those two. I don't really know what they got going on behind the scenes. I just know they really care. Yeah. If they can do with basketball and getting them on the court, which is what everybody wants to see. Everybody wants to make the people talking about all this basketball stuff the bad guys. Bro, listen. All we want to do is see basketball. What are we talking about? But I seen them talking about the trenches and the bigger platforms. They kind of feel like y'all kind of came and took their guys and blew them and kind of left them behind. It's kind of what I'm hearing. And like Terry Hosley finally getting his respect on the next chapter, but they feeling like they don't really need a lot of big platforms. They can do all this on their own. How do you feel about that? Are you guys old enough to know that you can't take everybody with you? That's a fact. You're old enough to know that, right? I know I am. Let's put some truth behind that, right? Before Left Hand Dom was even on the scene, he was in my gym trying out for our team. Did he have a name? Did I know that he came from the trenches? No. I didn't even know who he was. He was just hooping. And him was my witness, right? Okay. Let's go. Does anybody even remember who DuckTales is? No, but he was in my gym, hooping. P. Shine. If you really know basketball, you know who P. Shine is. You know how P. Shine came about? He just walked into the gym one day, and I thought, I always tell the story like, I didn't know who he was, bro. He just walked into the gym, and he was working out with us for 6 months. And finally, I was like, "Well, you want to go bump in the gym?" And it turns out, I played for Oak Hill. Turns out, I played at Maryland. I had no idea. So a lot of the guys that, that's small, I did not find in the trenches. So I'm not, and look, I love black people. I love them. Like, no, I'm not dedicated to the trenches. You know who showed me the most love? You know who showed me the most love when I go to China? You go to China, and 10 years ago, they were doing this stuff. 50,000 people watching one-on-ones out. One time. Yeah, making bread. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm so committed to the hood that I'm willing to just say dumb stuff or, flower. I'm just looking for their, what is it, their go ahead or their blessings to do something. No, like, I love black people. Don't get me wrong, but like they're not necessarily. I have a lot of fans from all over the world, and I think that the majority of hate that I get is very small because I'm good where I live. I walk around I can walk around my neighborhood right now, and people will walk outside of my house, see me walking, and know who I am, and come shake hands with me and take pictures with me. This is just the realness of when I went to San Francisco. I asked the people who was with me when people stop in the cars in the middle of the street, it's not to boost myself by any means. I'm just telling you, like, I got real love, and social media is not a real place. So all this hate,
Yeah, bro, it's when I'm in real life, I go to the DMV. I got family in the DMV. I got family in New York. I got family everywhere. My great uncle had 33 kids, so I got family in almost every state. I'm good where I'm at, you know, and I only go places like, for example, we just went to Toronto. I go places that I already show that mess with me. So when Toronto said, you know, when they show love and all this stuff, okay, let's go there. You know, but everybody that want to like make threats and I be getting threat, I be dealing with this stuff. You know, it's fine. I don't gotta go, and there's no love lost. Like I don't hate that. People think I hate this, but they want to see it, right? They want to see two black people going at each other. They want to see me hate on Julius Lee. They want to see me talk down on Davo. They want to see me talk trash to next chapter. Scotty opened up his house for me when I was out there and let me stay in his room. You know, when I was like doing some other stuff. These ain't bad people. I know everybody want to see. I'm not the one that's gonna get to. I'm gonna just be honest. So
One thing about all of this that I don't like though, I don't really care what question you ask on. Whatever comes out of their mouth, they responsible for. Like anything me and D Lamb say on here, we responsible for. But I can't blame you from my end.
So you talking about LP?
Anybody, like LP, whatever. But I'm just saying, the whole thing I don't like. The way I answer a question cannot be my fault. Even if, like, if I ask you a question and you say that, that's what you say. It's not my fault I said that. So you can't blame me, but I don't like that about this whole shit. Yeah, probably. What they say exactly?
Footage. So I can't give you a direct quote, but it was sure like it was to the extent that he will win if he played. And it's just like everybody. Once you got this thing.
No, he can say it, but it's not that. He basically was saying he's too small. Like he basically was saying that. So he like you said he's a lick. If I call somebody too small, I'm basically saying that lick me. That's how I feel.
You know what's funny too? Like thinking back on this, it's really not even that serious.
It's not. It's back on some one
Truth and lies get handled by being on the court and lacing up. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I do. That's okay. Or I don't, or I just don't put myself in that situation to where, you know, we got to find out because now who am I to be like, oh, I'm too old. Like, bro, let me just shut up from the jump. I ain't gonna call nobody out. But if you see, like, it also come down to media training too. It can also come down to knowing how to talk when the cameras come on, you know. So I gotta stop myself short of saying certain stuff too. I gotta monitor. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like you're right. The thing about like this, we talked about the trenches and this and that and the other, right? I'm looking at helping guys get paid. I'm looking at making a living for myself forever. If I got a job, I don't want to. You know, so like I can't say certain things that is not beneficial to making money. You know, so I gotta watch it. And the players sometimes do not understand that. But you know, there are a lot of people who would pay for what a horn players to the table. That's what I'm saying. Let's go too.
That's why people talk about it. They're entertaining, bro. They're good for sure.
But you guys know, nobody is above the program. Nobody. In the NBA, use them for example. Like people just think the NBA is doing so bad, certain stuff. Bro, listen, they had 3 out of 10. They'll be all right. You know when Kobe left, the also Steph started going on. They'll be all right. You know the next one, they gonna find the next one. They're my fault.
Somebody can pull up.
Like, just look at what Jerome did when he came to the scene and was like, somebody's gonna step up and be loud at some point. And y'all know, y'all's my witness. Y'all know how many good players there are out in this basketball world that can pull up and turn this thing up just like a Lamar did, just like Nas, just like. It's funny too. Going back on a little bit of my back.
You think some of the players was kind of nervous about that though? Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of making them feel away. That's why a lot of people starting to feel like they starting to have something to say about shit like that. Again, the trenches get left behind and all that. It's like y'all bringing in too much talent. They ain't feeling it. Like they gonna get left behind.
If you don't like it, just let it know. If you're not feeling it, you know what it is. You how people talk. I think we do gotta keep it respectful to a certain extent, but like everybody's